All right, so today we're going over law of sines. So you have used right triangle trigonometry to find the height of trees and other items that are perpendicular to the ground. So we've been using right triangles and trigonometry, right? What if an item is not perpendicular to the ground, like a tree that leans due to weather damage? So like this picture here, okay? It's not perpendicular, it doesn't form that right angle. To calculate the length of such trees, you must use other forms of trigonometry. Okay, so today we're looking at what we can use for non-right triangles. Okay, for non-right triangles. So the law of sines and cosines can be used with any triangle. Okay, any triangle. So we are only going to talk about law of sines. Okay, the law of sines are these ratios here. So we have sine of angle A over lowercase a. That'll be equal to sine of angle B over lowercase b, which is the same as sine of angle C over lowercase c. Now these uppercase letters here are always your angles, right? The lowercase letters are the sides. Now if I'm going from sine of angle A, it will be over lowercase a, which is always its opposite side. Okay, so if I'm using this angle, I put it over its opposite side. Same thing with B. Okay, so if I have angle B, it's always over its opposite side. That's where they're getting that lowercase b from. Now, when you're using law of sines, you don't need all three. You just need two. Okay, so you just need two of those angles and those two sides. So to use the law of sines, you have to have the measures of two angles and any side. Okay, two of the angles of your triangle and any side. Okay, so we are going to do an example of this. So if I look below here, this triangle is not a right triangle. Okay, one of the angles is not 90 degrees. So in order to solve this, I am going to use law of sines here. So I always look for what two angles I'm given. Okay, I'm given this angle of 74 degrees and this angle of 45 degrees. Okay, once I've found those angles, I need to locate their opposite sides. Okay, so opposite 74 degrees, we have our variable b. And opposite 45 degrees, we have that side of 30. Okay, so those are what I'm going to use in the law of sines. So to start, I'm going to use angle C. Okay, so I need to take sine of that angle. Okay, sine of the angle I'm given. That has to be over its opposite side. Okay, so that'll be 30. Now that's equal to my other angle I'm given. So I'm taking sine of that angle, which is 74, over its opposite side, which is B. Okay, so you only need those two angles. You don't need that third one in this formula. From here, to solve, all we have to do is cross multiply. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 30 into the sine of 74 and b into the sine of 45. Okay, so cross multiply. So we only cross multiply when there's that equal sign between our fractions. So for this first one here, I have b times the sine of 45. Okay, so I cross multiplied right here. That'll be equal to my other side, so 30 times the sine of 74. Okay, now from here, I just need my variable by itself. Okay, so I need b by itself so I can solve for b. Well, since these are multiplied together, I would just divide both sides by sine of 45. Okay, so I end up with b is equal to 30 times the sine of 74 over the sine of 45. And that's what we're going to enter into our calculator. Does anybody have this calculator? I don't think that's the same one, is it? Yeah, it is. Since everybody else took mine, this is the one I'm going to use. So here, I would take 30. Then you need to press your sine button. Okay, of 74. End your parenthesis. End your parenthesis. Okay, then divide by that sine of 45. End your parenthesis, press equals. Okay? So I got about 40.8. I know it's kind of hard to see. Okay, so that other side there would be about 40.8. Now when you're using law of sines, you don't have to decide if you're using sine, cosine, or tangent. It is law of sines. You're always going to press sine. You're always going to use sine. Okay, hence law of sines. Okay, questions on this first one? Questions how to enter it into your calculator? All right, then we're going to do example 2. So same thing. I need 2 angles, and then I'll have 2 sides here, and I'll be finding one of those sides. Okay, so I have this side of 16 and this angle of 97. Okay, so I'm using this angle, and I need its opposite side. Okay, so that'll be my first ratio here. So I'm going to use sine of 97. Okay, always the angle's always with that sine piece. That has to be over its opposite side, 16. Okay, now that's equal to, I need another angle over its opposite side. So that'll be 21 over x. So we have sine of 21 over x. Okay, and then we solve the same way. So we're going to cross multiply. So multiply here, 16 times the sine of 21. Okay, make sure to add in your equal sign, and then multiply across again. So we have x times the sine of 97. Okay, and then we need that variable by itself. So we will divide both sides by the sine of 97. Okay, so in our calculator, we can type out 16 times the sine of 21, divide by the sine of 97. Okay, so try and type that into your calculator. If you have a backwards calculator, you want to type in your angle, so 21, then press sine, then multiply by 16, then divide by, press 97, press sine, and then equals. Does that work? Okay, I got 5.8. Okay, 5.8. Questions?
Why don't we go to the nearest hundredth?
You can go to the nearest hundredth. I've just been doing tenth today. Yep.
Why did we use 97 instead of 21?
For
Like dividing
dividing it, because I want this x variable by itself. So you divide out whatever it's attached to. Good question. Other questions? All right, then let's go to the back for some more examples here. I want you guys to try example 3. Okay, try example 3. So use that same process. Find your angles, find their opposite sides. Yes. Yep. Always use that. Alright, you guys should be doing example 3. Should be doing example 3.
I have a question. Oh,
What?
Yes. Correct.
Wait. Yeah.
This is eliminated.
Water back. Take it. Up to my height. Hey, can I see it?
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. Yeah, the iPhone Pro.
Yes. And then you multiply it across each.
You left a message.
Why is it
You think that I hate you? Why? You think
Oh,
that's
it's-
funny
it's-
until 20 years later.
So I was like,
No. It was it's literally gonna be thinner.
No, yo,
That would be sick.
look at Tony's
They were
story.
They have it.
That would be sick.
It's like hitting in normal glass.
Yeah. What's future body armor?
I have your body armor piece of Iron Man.
Yeah, it's for.
Except he's got, dude,
Eric, what'd you get?
boy. That's
So I would write it down as x times the sine of y.
If we're gonna be honest, I could get out of your punch any day. But I don't want to sleep and cuddle.
Why am I watching?
Okay, no, like,
Times
yeah, I just forgot that.
I'm watching.
Imagine
I like my mom. Yeah.
So now it's cancel, right? You do that actually yourself. But you plug into your.
They'll still watch it.
Yep. Yep.
You're gonna be a great.
All right, we're gonna come back together really quick. Come back together. Shh. Sit down. Sit down. Come back together. So number 3. Hey, we're focused now. Sit down, please. So here I have this angle of 35. Its opposite side is x. This angle of 48. Its opposite side is 28. Okay, so I would take the sine of 48 over its opposite side, so 28, is equal to the sine of 35 over its opposite side of x. Now when you cross multiply here, you have this denominator times this numerator. So x times the sine of 48 is equal to 28 times the sine of 35. Now again, all I want is x by itself. Okay, I want x by itself. So I would divide out that sine of 48 to both sides of my equation. Okay, so that it cancels over here to get x by itself. Then once you plug that into your calculator, you should have x is equal to 21.6. Okay, so make sure you can get that answer. Okay, questions on example 3. All right, then example 4, just a little bit different. Okay, so I have two sides and two angles, but notice this angle of 91 degrees doesn't have an opposite side, right? Okay, but this angle of 52 does, right? So I for sure need to use that angle and its opposite side. Well, this side is opposite this angle, and can't I find this angle?
Yeah.
How do I find this angle?
All three angles equal 180.
Yes. All three angles together should equal 180. So I can, because I need this angle. I need this angle. Okay. So I'm going to subtract my two angles that I know from 180 to get that remaining angle of 37. So now that I have this angle and its opposite side, that's the one I want to use in my law of sines. Okay, so here to that opposite side. So I'm not using 91. Okay, again, I'm not using 91 because it does not have an opposite side. Okay, so if you're given those two angles and one of the angles does not have an opposite side, find out what your third angle is and use that one with its opposite side. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
So from here, I'm just going to do the same process. So taking sine of my angle, I'm going to start with 37. Over its opposite side is 20. Okay, that'll be equal to sine of my other angle, so 52. Over its opposite side is x. Okay, from here we're going to cross multiply. So multiply across that equal sign. So we have this x value times the sine of 37. Okay, and we'll have this 20 times the sine of 52. Okay, what's my next step? Divide by what? Yes. Okay, so then I can enter that into my calculator. Okay, so make sure you can enter that into your calculator correctly. I got 26.2. Okay, questions on example 4.
Why does this have to be very difficult?
It's not very difficult.
This is. Like 50,000 steps are.
Yeah. All right, any questions on example 4? All right, I want you to do example 6 then. Okay, do example 6. It's similar to example 4. So go through, do example 6.
Is there an easier way to find these? That's like the easiest way. This homework is never going to get done.
Yes. Way easier.
No, it is not.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm running on my phone.
Oh, yeah. I went to the house.
Just throws it across the room.
I can literally just do it all my calculator. But
Yeah.
Or something like 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ball playing.
What?
I hate those.
Huh.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I'll just be here. In my body.
Can you find it?
But I do. Every time
I'll
you
have one.
every time you make a I'll have a one.
Yeah. The best. I don't have it. What? What?
And then, do that in.
So, I don't know if it's wrong. I went to square root of 12.
Here's what you get. For what?
For 5, I want to do that one.
Yeah, you. Is that what you just said? I think about it. Oh, said what you said.
Oh,
I already did 5. I'm already 6.
She said that?
Oh, my God.
If I did, I wouldn't. Wait, someone check this in my spreadsheet. Why?
Yeah, I got trophy easy.
I've got Yes.
All right, so I did ask you to do example 6. Shh. Come back together. If you did example 5, you should have x is equal to 12.2. So if you did do example 5, it is 12.2. But for example 6, you did have to find this remaining angle here because that angle has an opposite side of 35. So again, to find that angle, you just take 180, subtract your other 2 to get 85. Yeah, I'm going to get there. Okay, so from here, I would take sine of 85 over 35 is equal to the sine of 60 over x. Okay, cross multiply, then divide. You should have gotten x is equal to 30.4. Okay, 30.4 should be your final answer there. Got it? Questions on